Welcome to Insight, everyone. I'm Nnamdi Odipo. Nigeria's oil and gas sector is intrinsically linked with just about every other sector of the economy, and so our conversation on the downstream sector is apt and somewhat timely, considering that that is one sector that keeps evolving. And in light of recent events and our collective quest for peace and stability, we explore how to take advantage of religious practices to engender growth. Elizabeth Omori would anchor that conversation for us. Elizabeth?
Well, talking about national peace, we will be beaming our searchlight on religion and the fight against insecurity.
Very well then, we start now. My first guest is a serving member of the National Assembly, Honorable Sergius Ogun. He's a member of the House of Representatives and he represents Esa North East, Esa South East constituency. He's also a member House Committee on Petroleum Downstream. Honorable, I know you used to also sit on the committee on the Federal Capital Territory. Are you still on the committee?
No, not anymore.
Oh, very well then. Welcome to Insights.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Honorable, most of us were thoughts about the 3Ds of development, the democracy, deregulation, and digitization. I am more interested in deregulation, and now that throws up free enterprise and also fosters private sector participation. When it comes to the downstream sector, we say it has been regulated since 2003 or thereabouts. However, there are still, we still see some significant level of government control. Help me to put this to put the situation in proper context. Is there hope for the passage of the Petroleum Industry Bill and consequently full deregulation as against the current reality?
Oh, well, the downstream is largely government. Largely government. Right now, from importation of the white petroleum products to even distribution, when you talk about petroleum equalization fund, PEF. So it's largely government, and there is no deregulation of any sort right now. Although the government gave the impression a while back that they were going to deregulate. I mean, the last, I think it was 2016, 2017, the Honorable Minister then was talking about deregulation, that even NNPC was going to go public. None of that happened. Again, the last maybe 6 months ago, the current Minister of State for Petroleum also said the same thing, that we have deregulated right now, but now they're still talking about subsidy. And that's the biggest challenge, really, that government is not able to take a firm decision on this. Although they give the impression that it's because of the masses, but I don't think so. But again, in fairness to them, the DPK, which is kerosene, and AGO has been deregulated. So the biggest, where we are losing a lot of money right now, is actually the PMS, petrol. That's the one that they have not deregulated, and that's gotten a whole lot of money.
This is something that has lingered since 2003, Honorable.
I think it's for government to come out straight and be honest. I'll tell you now, for free, the claim from government is that we are consuming about 80 million liters of petrol every day. That's what they're importing for our daily consumption. And that is not correct at all, because as I speak to you right now, I'm chairing an ad hoc committee on tank farms and petrol stations and LPG plants, basically checking for their compliance. And we discovered that even most filling stations can't even buy a tanker, which is going for about 30,000 liters, is going for about 4-point-something million right now. So most of them cannot afford to buy, so they are not selling, they are not in business. So where are we selling, who are we supplying the 80 million to? I mean, we'll be around the country. Who are they supplying the 80 million liters to? So the earlier government, washes their hand off this and allow the private sector to handle it, the better. I know the biggest drawback for the private sector, or the biggest challenge, is that they can't get forex. NNPC will say crude oil, have their own forex, and then they can import. But if we can manage it in a way that the private sector can get dollars at the rate that NPC is getting, I'm sure we can make some savings there. But in any case, we should stop.
Where are we with the PIB bill? I mean, the petroleum industry bill at the moment. I mean, is there hope for an imminent passage? I know some sections of the bill has been resolved and worked upon and passed, but what is the status of the bill as we speak?
Well, I'm a member of that ad hoc committee on PIB. We did some work, I think 2 weeks back in Lagos, and I think it's just a meeting away to review, and then we'll go for clause-by-clause consideration. But that's not to say it's the huru yet. It's not the huru yet, because it might not even pass that clause-by-clause consideration. My prayer is that it should pass. Because if you look at the fact that in the last 4 years, if we deduct 2020, because I see 2020 did almost happen. The last 4 years, if we take out 2020, over 70 billion USD was invested in Africa. And only less than 3 billion was invested in Nigeria, talking about oil. So I am saying that to say that it is very important that we pass the PIB, because investors are not bringing money here anymore. So we need to let them know the climate is good, that you can invest here and take your money back, because nobody will bring money into an economy when you don't know how much you're going to make or how you're even going to repatriate your profits. So for that reason, we should pass the PIB like yesterday. But I have also cautioned, as much as the leadership of the National Assembly are giving timelines with which we are going to pass the budget, pass the PIB, I think we should dot the I's and cross the T's, so that we do not pass the budget, pass the bill, and we start having issues.
I thought that is exactly what we've been doing for close to a decade now.
But we're almost there. We're almost there.
Okay. Yeah. One of the upsides of deregulation is competition, and that drives other incentives like reduction in prices, especially for consumers. I know certain aspects, like I said earlier, of the PIB have been resolved, and these structures of the downstream sector, they have linkages with product pricing. But why is it an issue, or why is an issue like pricing in the international market for crude becoming a dominant factor for product pricing here in Nigeria? Pardon my naivety, and just please explain how that plays out.
I think some years ago, as a country, we were not using the international price of crude oil. I mean, the total capacity of our 4 refineries is 445,000 barrels of crude oil. Okay, so I think it was from President Obasanjo's era. They said, okay, we have to give crude oil to the refineries at official selling price, which is international selling price. So whatever is being sold in the international market, that's the rate we are going to give to the refineries. That made some business sense. But that was supposed to be working towards the regulation.
Okay.
But right now the refineries are not producing, but they are still getting that quantity for which they say they are selling to bring in the product that they are subsidizing. The regulation ordinarily should help competition.
Of course.
And for me, I have always advocated for that. Deregulate completely, because what we are paying for today is government inefficiencies. The PPPROA template is faulty. Now you have a mother vessel that brings in a product that's even shipped in by NNPC. It's on the high sea, and you are using smaller vessels, daughter vessels, to bring it in. And all these are charges, extra charges that are being paid for by the Nigerian people. If you check with NPA, I was on one committee, on the swap committee, when we had like 4 former GMDs. And what I actually asked Austin Oniwu, now you are talking about those badges not being able to come into the port.
For the benefit of our viewers, who exactly is Austin Oniwu?
Oniwu at the time was GMD, that was under Design. I think there were 3 of them under Design or GMDs.
At the time?
Yes.
Please go on.
So, and what he said to me was, because they were paying money, they were paying something close to maybe $1 or so per barrel or liter of refined product that we're bringing in. So my simple question was, they're talking about drought. So why did we not just dredge so that these vessels can come straight to NPA And he said to me, well, my own is just to manage the petroleum, the petrol that we're bringing in. We had an NPA, MD or that. Okay, you have two agencies under one government, you have two ministers under one government, and you are losing. NNPC was paying money to NPA that's supposed to be profit, but you are charging that again to the consumers in one country. So why can't the Minister of Petroleum and Minister of Transportation sit down together and agree that we should dredge so that these vessels can come in? But they will not agree, but because people are cleaning out all those mother vessels that are going to the daughter vessels that are going to the mother vessel on the high sea are owned by people. That is why we should put an end to deregulation like yesterday.
I mean, we should start full deregulation, if I understand what you mean correctly.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. Start food regulation, not put an end. Yeah.
It's a paradox of some sort, and I mean it's been a source of concern for many. I mean, in Nigeria and also outside of Nigeria. And I'm talking about the issue of Nigeria's status as one of the world's largest producers of crude oil and a net exporter as well. I mean, it has come up time and again, especially against the backdrop of Nigeria remaining stuck on imported fuel. I'm sure you're aware of the previous and current attempts to crank up our aging crude processing plants, with works, right now quite progressive on the Port Harcourt refinery from what we hear. But then, Honorable, would you honestly blame and dismiss skeptics who doubt that state-run plants can return to full operations? Stemming from NNPC's previous attempts, we know that efforts to overhaul the refining industry, we know of the one in 2007, we know of the one in 2010, there was another one in 2012, and that of 2016, they all failed. I mean, they failed to work out. Doesn't the paucity of revenue occasioned by the pandemic make it even more difficult for us this time to achieve a total overhaul?
Well, I am one of those that believe that government does not have any business doing business.
But the Chinese model is working?
Yes, because it's almost communist. It's a communist system that they have modified in a way. And it's even good that you have mentioned the Chinese. When you have trade fairs like the OTC, or Technology Conference, I have a lot of people I used to deal with, to buy parts with. They will tell you the Chinese will come into the fair with a container or containers, and they will tell you that everybody should close from that site by 5 p.m. so that you can set up. I mean, we are setting up, close by 5 p.m. and leave the environment. Because the Chinese will come with the individuals that are supposed to set that thing up. By 5 p.m. when everybody was leaving, when everybody is leaving the facility, that's before the show starts, the Chinese will be inside the container with just a bottle of water till the next day. The point I'm making is, they are not like us. We, as it is right now, cannot manage state enterprise because the Chinese will follow every dime. The Chinese man that is coming here to work is the staff of the ministry, but coming as a private sector driven company, but it's a government enterprise. And that man can live in a container, can live in one room without a conditioner or water or anything. Send one NNPC, even junior staff, for a training in China. He wants to stay in the best hotel, he's going to fly business class, and extra code of how much. So I just digress a bit.
Not to derail you, but is it a function of perception and attitude now?
Yeah, maybe. So the point I'm making that government in Nigeria, okay, let me put it that way. Government in Nigeria or in Africa do not have any place in business because we don't manage it as a business. I'll give you an example. Right now we are talking about there's no money. The last time I was here, I said something about grade level 12 down. I told to sit down home and not come to work. But go and check the private sector. They are all working from home. But they have a platform to work. The government has said that people should sit at home. Have you given platform to those people to work? No, but they are being paid. That's one. Secondly, the private sector, when they are having issues, they right size, manage what they have. When things improve again, they bring in maybe new people. If you want to bring in the other people, it can be on contract, and they still pay them. But in government in Nigeria, we don't run government to make profit. You can make profit for the state. So if we don't have that behind our mind, and we are running it as charity, there will be losses. And that's the way it's been. So I do not see pumping all the billions into all the refineries. They will still not work. That's the truth. They still will not work as long as you leave it in the hands of the government. Now, Dangote is building his refinery going to 8 years.
Yes, well, let me not derail you, but let me quickly take you up on the issue of Dangote, since you brought that up. In the next few years or sooner, the new privately owned, I think it's about 650,000 barrels per day. I mean, refining capacity, it's due to come online. In theory, that refinery could help meet the country's fuel needs. But you are the expert here, and I say that knowing that you've been involved in the upstream sector as well as in oil sector servicing for a bit as well. How much of a boost would the Dangote refinery give, and how can that help us to build momentum?
Well, that might help, but it's in an export zone.
Okay.
So it's going to be exporting, we're going to be importing Dangote refined product into Nigeria. And he didn't build it for the Nigerian market alone, maybe for the sub-region and beyond. So we have to be able to pay his price before we can take. So, but that will help. I mean, that will, compared to shipping product from Europe or America to Nigeria, I mean, we will save some pennies there. But again, that's not to say if we can fix these our existing refineries, because these are massive assets. If we can fix them and sell them to private individuals to manage, we're still going to make money from it. So the idea of relying on Dangote alone is not tenable here. Because tomorrow Dangote says he's going to fix the price and says he's going to sell to you for extra amount of money that's even higher than bringing the product from Europe. What do you do?
I recall government has said it will fix the refineries and then hand them over to those who produced them originally and who maintain them to service and engage in the production or refining of crude.
Who does that anyway? You want to sell this your MP in your building here, and you're going to spend so much to renovate it. At the end of the day, the cost, okay, of course, you have to value it. You value the current state of the facility. Then after rehabilitation, then you value it again. If this is going to be more expensive than building a brand new one, who will now come for the renovated one? Nobody. So we should have sold these refineries years ago. Well, we didn't. Now we can still say this is the state of things. Whoever is interested, buy what you can see. You know, or there's a word for it, buy as it is or whatever. You know. So if we are putting that out there and people are buying, because look at the state today. We are losing billions every year. Who does that? Billions every year for a plant that is not working. If it's not the state, if it's not government, who will do that? If you have a business that is not run, that's not doing well, what do? You declare bankruptcy. So how can this country be losing billions on the refineries every year? And you believe just one rehabilitation will change the mindset of everybody working there and the government attitude to it? A turnaround maintenance should be done in every plant, in a major plant like the refinery, every 3-4 years. Have we been doing that? Even when we do, they give the contract to their cronies and the monies will go into pockets. And again, the cost of that will come back to us, Nigerians. So I think we should just put an end to it and let private individuals run them.
On the side, I don't know, it just came to mind that the newest of the 4 refineries that we have is almost 40 years old already. I mean, so it makes some sense what you say. Let's quickly move along here, and I'd like to bring up the issue of product analysis, which indicates that we consume about 17 billion liters of PMS annually, 3 billion liters of AGO annually, also annually, and 400 million liters of aviation fuel annually as well. We know that as our population grows, demand would naturally increase. Can we create some likely, or can you create some likely scenarios around our anticipated refining capacity, considering all things being equal, and use that to make projections on possible outcomes, say in another 10 or 20 years? I'd like for you to factor in both the capacity, optimum capacity of our conventional refineries, and the anticipated inclusion of modular refineries in refining products in Nigeria as well.
Okay, thank you for that. You also know that we have renewable energy right now.
Of course,
Yeah,
clean
of course.
energy, and that's something I would like for us to talk about down the line.
Because the bulk of what they claim we are consuming are really are not for cars or trucks of the petroleum product we are consuming. The bulk is really going to houses, running their plants, running their small generators and all that. So we also believe by the grace of God, by the time we can get the light, we can fix the light,
Okay,
that consumption will come down a bit.
that's power now.
That
Electricity.
power, yeah, we can fix power, the consumption of the white petroleum product will come down a bit. That's one. And then secondly, by the time we introduce more houses are using solar panels, and you see government these days, they are powering the street lights with generators. Maybe if they can invest more on durable solar, all that will stop. So by the time you factor all this in, consumption, reliance on fossil fuel or petroleum products will come down a bit. Then that's one. Then LPG. Maybe that's one something we have not even touched. We have NLNG.
Yes.
That's built for export. They're only giving about 20% of what they are producing to the Nigerian market. Okay. A while back, we engaged the Nigerian the Association of LPG Group, and their campaign is even in Benin, MPDC in Benin,
Okay.
that companies came and signed contract for LPG in Edo State there. These companies are portfolio companies or contractors. The dealers were there, the association were there, they approached them, they were not listened to. These people take out the LPG and then will now import it back to Nigeria. Who does that? This product is here. Because why I mentioned that? Because you can use that also. By the time you will have more houses using LPG, they also cut down on the use of kerosene and other things. So now, we are still importing LPG that we have abundance of in this country. They take it out and bring it in. So, I mean, is that not just to punish Nigerian people?
We currently have the biggest LPG project ongoing now in Africa. I don't know, what I mean, doesn't that say something at least?
Yeah. I know we are selling to make profit. But if we don't have enough for local consumption, and we are going to buy from the same people we are selling to and they are bringing it back, I don't know how that economics work. I don't know. Because you make 1 naira, then to lose 10 naira. And who is paying for it? The ordinary people, you and I.
I get a sense, Honorable, that you're not very optimistic that we might experience some refining revolution anytime possible, anytime soon. Is that so? Is that your opinion? That some people are quite optimistic that we just might be on the verge of a breakthrough.
Yeah, because we are looking at Dangote. Yeah, there are a couple of modular refineries that have come upstream, that are working. There are a couple more that will come. Yeah, maybe, hopefully with that, we might just get it right. But my faith is not in the Nigerian refineries.
Okay.
The 4 refineries owned by NNPC. My faith is not in any of those refineries.
So
maybe through the private sector.
Private sector.
Yeah.
Full deregulation.
Well, now, with Dangote staring down on the market, they will not have any choice but to deregulate. Because, like I said, the PPROA template is very faulty. There are too many. The inefficiencies there is what we are paying for. The Nigerian people are paying for. But with Dangote right there, hopefully, we might be able to do something. But again, they will still have to pump from point A to point B.
Besides the issue of product pricing or bridging product supply, there are other critical challenges such as the issue of insecurity and pipeline vandalism. It isn't possible at the moment, or not in a long while, for us to police all existing pipelines and engendering community involvement in the protection of these national assets have not turned up the desired results. What do you consider, what do you think is next for us? In other climes, I know technology and robotics are fast replacing human personnel. But what is next for us as a country in ensuring the protection of oil pipelines across Nigeria?
I think NNPC are almost in the process of awarding the contract to seal the pipes, to go deeper.
Okay.
When you bury the pipes, to bury them deeper, and then to seal them, so that it will be difficult for you to have access to them. And if you have access to them, to just break them will not be easy. So when it becomes very difficult for people to access the pipe and suck or take anything out, that might discourage them. Then the process of doing that, one. And then secondly, it's going to be leased out. After doing that, it's not going to be, the pipelines will be leased.
Okay.
So in that way, it's not going to be managed by an NPC. Will be managed by the private sector. And I also think, which I have not heard them say,
how is that different from what we have currently on ground?
Well, the pipelines carrying products around the depot to the depots in the past was owned by an NPC. I'm not aware that it's being managed by the private sector. So, but this one going forward is going to be managed by the private sector. So it becomes, you are paying something for using it.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, of course, you will manage it well. Then I think the council introduced a technology that's everywhere. The minute you tap the pipe anywhere, it will cut off. It will show the control room, it will cut off the product. So when the vendors are frustrated, they won't go there anymore. Yeah. So I think we should have brought this on board years ago, but with government involvement, I don't know why.
Earlier on, you brought up the issue of LPG, and I'd like to throw up an issue around that. Let me reel out a list of countries, and I'm sure you would know what binds them. So first is Russia, then Iraq, Iran, the United States, Algeria, Venezuela, and then there's Nigeria. I've just mentioned seven countries. These 7 countries, they remain the top 7 gas flaring countries, and they have for the last 9 years running. These 7 produce 40% of the world's oil, each year, but unfortunately they account for roughly 2/3. That is 65% of global gas flaring. I know we've set national targets for ourselves, as in here in Nigeria, we hope to redirect gas exploration into major gas projects. But then, where are we with all of that? And are these our best efforts yet? You talked about it earlier, but you didn't really put it in context, like what we should be doing at you identified the problems, but I mean, you did not make recommendations. I would like for you now to speak to that issue specifically for what's next for us when it comes to LPG exploration and stopping gas flaring.
Okay, I think the government is working hard on stopping the flare. There are penalties and charges, for flaring gas. We don't have strong environmental laws here, and we don't also have strong activists. Most of the countries you just mentioned now, they have environmental activists that are troubling the government. But even having said that, the government here, it took them a while to take steps. But lately, those steps are yielding efforts. And I'm sure in a short while, we should be there. On the utilization of our gas, LPG, like I said earlier on, the NLG, when it was built, it was for export. So it's now that we are also protesting that, look, we need so much gas here. You can't be taking everything out. They have also begun to look inward. In the petroleum industry bill that's coming, we are domesticating gas. So we're going to have, hopefully, when it's passed, this round tripping they are doing now is going to stop. I call it round tripping because you give a license to somebody to take gas here, and then they're going to export it and import it, So hopefully that should stop with the PIB. Okay,
great. You also talked about clean energy earlier on, and I'll ask your opinion on something quite important as well, and that is where we are in exploring innovative alternatives for fossil fuel. Biomass, hydrogen, wave, solar, and even whiskey, surprisingly, are some established alternatives. I mean, even though it's not the direct mandate of your committee in the House of Representatives, but are you and your colleagues throwing up some of these issues? Because clean energy is with us now, and it is the future as well. The world is moving way, way ahead, and being left behind is not, and in the dark, is not an option for any country that desires sustainable development.
I think they actually have a department in NNPC for that, for renewable energy. I don't know how much money has been invested.
Are we doing enough?
Yeah, that's it. Because now, look at, even Saudi, they invested so much, Saudi Aramco, they invested so much in renewable energy. That Chevron invested so much in renewable energy. Most of the oil majors are investing in renewable energy. Maybe as a country, we are not doing enough. Maybe it's also because we don't have money. Like somebody will tell you, we're here battling with the regulation and spending so much. They are talking about having money to invest in renewable energy. But I think we have to balance it. We have to create that balance. If you set up that sector very well and encourage the private sector, maybe can you give them tax break? I'm sure they will go into it. That's something government needs to think about and then or rather reconsider, rather than just make it a department in NNPC that will not be funded. Maybe if you entice the private sector with it, they probably invest money in it. And
well, it's something we really need to do because, Honorable, and you would agree with me, it's very likely and very possible that in the next 20 to 25 years, say 30 years, fossil fuel might become dated. And the world would have moved beyond the use of fossil fuel into some other cleaner forms or clean energy alternatives.
I think our concern with that is not that we will buy again. We just want to buy, but where are we going to have money to buy? Our challenge there should be we have so much of
because
the
at that time we won't have market for our fuel.
Exactly, we won't have. So that's why we should start thinking about how to diversify our economy. If now there's no money from NHPC anymore to share to everybody, so you have to generate your money locally, from your economy. But the biggest challenge, like I said, is that who will buy our products? Nobody will be buying then. And if we don't create that alternative right now, we won't have money to even buy.
Well, we're totally out of time now. I would just like to have your closing thoughts. Any thoughts just before we let you go? Yeah,
my prayer to the government is, well, it's a bit late now because they are already awarding contracts for refinery. But if that must go ahead, they should make sure the proper job is done. Look for a buyer that can also manage it. It's not enough for somebody to just put money up and then you sell, like we have with the steel plant and all. Somebody that has a track record, or a company that has a track record that can manage it for the benefit of this nation.
Honorable Sergius Ogun, I want to thank you so much, very much for coming on Insight. It has been enlightening, and I want to wish you the very best in your work.
Thank you very much.
Honorable Sergius Ogun is a member of the House of Representatives. He represents Esan North, East, Esan South, East constituency. He's also a member of the House Committee on Petroleum Downstream. Time now for Elizabeth Omoroye, and she takes on the issue of peace, security and stability and how religion plays into all of that.
Insecurity, apart from being the fear of everyone, has become the word on the lips of every Nigerian and a topic of discourse. This phenomenon is a state of being subject to danger or injury. Psychologists say it is a feeling of insecurity. It is clear that insecurity negatively affects a nation politically, religiously, and culturally. Nigeria is known as a religious and progressive nation, but still grappling with this challenge. What is the religious implication of insecurity in Nigeria? My guest, Sheikh Musa Daud, National Coordinator, Islamic Family Foundation, will deal on this issue. Sheikh, it's nice to have you join us on Insight.
Thank you very much.
All right, your appearance today is quite deliberate, and that is because of Ramadan. Our focus is on insecurity. It is a universal challenge. And for some time now, banditry and abduction have confronted us so much. What are your thoughts?
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Dear listener, good afternoon. Insecurity, my thoughts, is a trump-up and programmed activity of the elite and the political and business class across the world. So, what Islam dealt with is security. And what are we talking about here? When you look at the whole concept of religion, it's about security. The creation of Adam and Eve, with Eve as his wife, is about social security. It's about marital security. Meaning that the absence of marriage will create social insecurity. When you look at Moses, that is Musa, what he dealt with was vandal insecurity. That is, how do you make the weak secured? So it came with the law of an eye for an eye.
Sorry, I would like to come in there. Would you relate that to family breakdown in family values?
Very good. That's where I'm coming. Now, when you look at the family value, it is the essence of establishment of marriage. And where marriage is disrupted and the focus of family development is lost, the man is struggling to make money, the woman is struggling to make money, children are struggling to make money, then there is loss of family value. And in order not to create insecurity and for family, community, and nation to be secured, the laws against taking of intoxicants, drugs, or whatever you can call it, is it tramadol, is it cocaine, is it, the laws are there. That it is prohibited from inception. More than 1,500 years ago, Islam have prohibited it. Now, when you look at those people that are doing those things they say they are doing, they are on influence of those things. Meaning that you are not only injuring yourself, the moment you lose your head, you are injuring the whole community. That's one. Now, there is also a challenge to protect the security of all. And which is the reason why heaven and hell is created. Okay. The good ones will go to heaven. The bad ones will go to hell. Right. That's when we get to heaven. How about here? The good ones should be allowed to operate. The criminals should go to where? Is it prison or correctional home? Now, this is where the challenge is. Now, if you really want to stop criminality, all you need to do is to go through the books. Is it the Bible? Is it the Quran? The laws are there. When you kill inadvertently, deliberately, it is an eye for an eye.
Okay.
You will see it will stop. Where you don't want to operate that, say it is now, then there is the minimum amount of money you pay for a life that is innocently lost, as we speak, is 72 million.
We have several religious organizations putting together prayer sessions for God's intervention. Where have we gotten it all wrong? These challenges are still there.
Yeah. You see, when the Quran speaks of religion, he will say those that are faithful and those that are doing good works. Prayers does not work in isolation. You must back up your prayer with good activity. Now, if you are praying, it is your wish. But if you are backing it up with action, it is actionable activity that will give you the result, the outcome. And that is why you see, when people pray or wish, you will remain there forever. You can't be doing the wrong thing and be praying for good things to happen. You can't pray for bumper harvest when you refuse to go to farm and work. You can't pray for security when those that are criminals, either as a Christian or as a Muslim, are known, and you are not prosecuting them, either as Igbo, Yoruba, or Hausa, or any tribe. And so once you don't name and shame, and you don't curb the excesses of vandals, whether elite or poor, then prayer will not be effective. So with Islam, the essence of religion is to protect the weakest of the weak. And that is why the hijab is put there, to protect the innocence of the woman. That is why there is no prison in Islam. In Islam, you take the criminal to his household for rehabilitation. You take to the mosque for rehabilitation. By the time he's praying and he's listening to sermon, he will be reformed. But when you take a criminal to prison and you say you are feeding him and he's not doing any work, what is it? Of what value is it? So if we really want to be correctional in our approach to curbing criminality, take that criminal, whether elite or poor, to his family house for rehabilitation. With Islam, we expect the system to protect the weak. And that is why when the elite, when the institutionalization of cutting off the hand of a thief was established.
All right, Sheikh.
The elite.
Okay.
It was the elite that was caught. But the Prophet carried that thing out. So for a period of 13 years, there was no single person that practiced theft again.
Okay. I like the fact that you actually explained a particular doctrine in Islam that does not support the prisons. It's fantastic. But at this point, when somebody depending on the measure of abuse or violence or negative acts the person was involved in, how would you measure justice at that point?
Very good. You see, when a thief is caught, is taken to trial, the question is, he will be asked, are you in employment? If he said no, what skill do you acquire? If he has it, then it is now the responsibility of that local government.
Okay.
Why is it? It's not in employment. Because you cannot commit fraud unless you have told a lie. And a liar, when he's caught, is publicly caned. It doesn't cost government anything. It doesn't cost government anything. But where you have killed a person, say for the case of accidental, that is, you call it manslaughter, and which could happen to anybody.
Anybody.
The minimum amount of money you are going to pay to that family that suffers a loss, is 72 million plus. You are going to pay to that family. But let me ask you, what is the purpose why a woman is crying when she lost her husband? It is the load of two persons have become the load of one person.
One person.
Pay me 72 million. I will allow you to go. And my wife will not cry.
Okay.
Now, if that person is a willful criminal, you calculated the murdering, it's now confirmed against you that it is murder. Again, it is not at the instance of the government. It is at the instance of the family that the injury is applied. So if they are able, whatever they can do, to beg that family, then, and they say no problem, but if they say they insist on the law, then you will see that if this is carried out, criminality will just fizzle out. Where the family concerned cannot pay, its local government should pay. You will discover that all this criminality will be nipped at the bud. Whether it is being orchestrated by the political elite, whether it is being orchestrated by the church or by the Muslims, the moment you know you are paying so much for the crime you have committed, nobody wants to lose money. So, and when you look at this criminality again, it is our considered opinion that none of the tool of violence is being manufactured either in the east, the north, or the west. So where are they coming from?
All right, Sheikh, quickly, what is the way forward?
The way forward is for us to go back to the family values.
Okay.
Number one. To encourage marriage. Number two. To enforce discipline at home, in the school, and in the institution. And to protect the weak among us. And whatever we can do to ensure that intoxicants, gambling, all this codeine, cocaine, whoever are behind those things, they should not only be caught, they should be named, and they should be prosecuted. Because you are killing those people that are taking those things. They are not dying physically, but they are dying emotionally. They are dying spiritually. They are dying. It's a big loss, both economic and social, for the family and for the nation. So whoever is those people that are behind those things, you deal with them by law of the land. Okay. Now, for people that who always attribute everything to tribe or religion, even idol worshippers have rules and regulations. Whether you say your religion is Ogun or Oshun, let you be judged by that thing. Where there is no justice, justice is not seen to be done, then violence will not stop. Where we attribute criminality to religion, it's because it's the Muslims that are doing it. It's because it's the Christians that are doing it. It's because it is Yoruba that is doing it. It's because it is Hausa, it is Igbo. Once you attach those nomenclature to criminals, you find it difficult to cope. So treat a criminal as a criminal. Don't attach his or her religion to it. If he should claim that religion, judge that person according to the religion he claims. Because everybody has code of conduct in his religion. Actually. Everybody has it. Because the nation or family or community cannot live in isolation without rules of guidance, without rules of regulations, where you choose not to adopt the religious law of the Bible or the Quran. But tell me, where an accountant doctored the book, what is the law? In Islam, his own punishment is higher than the person who is not an accountant and he has committed
because
offense. He knows the law. Where a security personnel engage in arm trading and giving arms to the criminal, his own offense, his own punishment is higher than that person who knows nothing about it, just, now, maybe he's a victim. So the law, as long as we are ready to see a doctor saving life, where a doctor have taken a life, then his punishment is higher than the one that just go and I get him and remove her. Because he's just stupid. He's a stupid person. But a doctor cannot lay claim not knowing the value of life. So these are the position of Islam on issues. That is why Allah told the Prophet, he said, tell your wives to protect themselves and to mind their utterances. If you should commit a sin as the commoners, your own punishment will be double.
All right, Sheikh Musa Daud, National Coordinator, Islamic Family Foundation, thank you so much for coming on Insights. I hope we have other times to talk about more issues. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And talking about insecurity, ensuring national security is the responsibility of all citizens. Just before we go, I'd like to bring you excerpts from two previous interviews with two prominent Nigerians on the subject matter of the responsibility of citizenship. Dr. Egali, you're not just a good orator, I should say. You're known to be a good writer as well. In fact, I came across a piece you wrote and delivered at an event in Bayelsa State in 2017 to mark the Isaac Borough Day. You talked about the imperatives for moving from underdevelopment and marginalization to rapid development in the Niger Delta. But I am more interested in what you described as the Nigerian reality. I will quote from your speech where you said, and I quote, I would ask them to just put that up so we can see if we have that now. And I'll quote, in recent times, the unfolding socio-political environment in Nigeria characterized by unbridled intolerance, religious extremism, pervasive violence, high-level corruption, ethnic chauvinism, and irredentist proclivities has tended to make Nigerians to begin to recline into cocoons of self-expressions and creations of spheres of self and group preservation, end of quote. This rings true on many levels and continues to be an issue for us in Nigeria. But again, I'll talk about leadership and ask you this. How can leadership steer us away from all of these misconceptions and perhaps stir up nationalism?
Well, leadership in a multi-ethnic society such as Nigeria must be very broad-minded in order to accommodate and ensure that the interests of all sections are balanced evenly. It's not possible to have a perfect balance, but we can have a fair and even balance that will ensure that no group feels terribly alienated.
General, we have constantly made reference to how we should continually strive for collective national interest. As an ideal, patriotism is often invoked to inspire citizens to give their best to the nation. But isn't patriotism latent at best and modeled by leadership? Do you think we have done enough in that direction to perhaps throw up patriotic leadership?
Well, I think there's a presumption here that patriotism is an inspiration that is created by leadership only on its own. Patriotism must be part and parcel of the inherent motivation and desire by the people themselves. And that is why sovereignty belongs to the people, and to exercise that sovereignty, they must be in a position to have some symbiosis or dialogue with leadership, and also vested in them is the power to choose the direction to which leadership should navigate the country, and that is the basis of giving mandate to government to govern.
And that's it on this episode of the program. Do join us same time next week for more on Insights. My name is Nnamdi Odipo.
And I'm Elizabeth Omori. We'll see you again.